Okay. Good evening, everybody. And yes, we're getting close to the pizzas and the beer. So we are the last session. So we are going to entertain you for 30 minutes. One of the challenges when you're a software provider and you've been invited, and thank you again for inviting us, Big Data London, is everybody going to know us in the audience? And the fact that we had 2 of our best customers, and thanks again for mentioning us twice, to Badu and Monsoon, that help us in terms of introducing the scene. So yes, we're in BI, we're enterprise, we provide application to businesses, and we are neutral and agnostic to cloud and CRM. So you've heard the news for the last few days. So that it's actually good for us in terms of being one of the only enterprise neutral and agnostic platform. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. So that's enough, I think, for the commercial break. And let's go straight into what brought you here today. So let's move on to the next slide, Matt. So in terms of introducing the concept of the adoption of analytics, I think some of you might be driving. I realize sometimes when you present those kind of slides in cities, it doesn't always work because some of you don't actually drive, but I'm sure you've been in an Uber or a taxi. And it's quite demanding to actually being a driver. You have to worry about your fuel tank, make sure you have enough fuel in your tank, making sure you're going at the right speed, making sure that the kids at the back are entertained. And the last thing you want to have in your mind is trying to remember what is the actual speed limit. And speed limit varies, and I've been long enough in this country to understand that you have different speed limit depending on the number of lanes and country lane, and if there is roadworks. And last thing you want is disturb your wife, which is busy with the kids at the back playing some game. So you want the information at the right time, the right place, in the correct information, especially when you have motorway with different speeds. And this is a clear example using heads-up display. Maybe some of you are lucky enough to have one of those technologies. I don't yet, but I think I'll definitely think about it. And that's exactly an example where we enhance the user, or we enhance the information presented to the user. And the other one here you can note at the back here is actually even tell you the distance between you and the front car. And I don't know if you remember when you passed your driving test, but when I had to pass my driving test, I had to go through a calculation to try to understand the distance between me and the car in front and how many seconds I have to be able to stop. Here, I don't have to worry about that. Everything is taken care of me. From that perspective. So if we move on to maybe something closer to you in terms of your business's software. So this is an email I got from Sam. So this is Outlook or any other web browser you're going to be using to visualize your email. I get an email, and that email is telling me that giving me some names. So I don't even know those people. So what typically I will have to do, I'm going to go into Zendesk, into Sugar CRM, Salesforce, not here to promote any other tool, but whatever tool you choose to find that information, or a Workday, and you're going to go in another interface, log in that interface, find information of that person, and then realize, oh no, that's not where the information is, and then you're going to try to go in another system, and you might even not have that information. So if we try to enhance the user experience and try to bring that experience where the person is, and when the user using that technology, that's what we're going to bring in terms of hyper-intelligence. We're going to enhance the user experience without having to log in, without having to build a dashboard, without connecting the information. So the key here is you could have that card which is built up of multiple systems. So one of the difficulties in the CRM world, in the single customer view, is you have to connect the data in the back end. But what if you could find the information where it resides, whether it's big data, whether it's Excel, it's some CRM I mentioned before, and try to bring that in the user context where the user actually worked on a day-to-day basis. So we're going to be covering hyperintelligence into a scenario. And just a question for the audience. What do you think, maybe in your organization or your customers, is typically the BI adoption in a large enterprise? What would be the number of people using BI in your companies? Anybody want to shout out a number? 100%? Okay, but what about percentage? 20%, okay. 40, okay.
About
80. 80, well that's quite high, that's quite high. There you are, that's 30%. And that came from Gartner. So Gartner has done some research, and the adoption of BI has been fluctuating over the last few years, but it's around 30%. So how can we increase that to 100%? So how do we bridge that gap 70%. And yes, we've been in BI for 30 years. We're doing our best. We're building very self-service dashboard. We're helping the business analysts, but we think there are new ways, there are new tools, natural language query and hyperintelligence, like I mentioned, to help users to better adopt BI and try to reach out to people that are not literate in terms of numbers and insight, and they just want the insight on their businesses without having sometime even to go into a business analyst or be able to create their dashboard on their own. So we move on to the next slide. So if we think about a business analyst, so let's try to put ourselves in the shoes of a business analyst. So maybe your business looks to something like that. So you have IT on one side, the business on the other side, everybody trying to spin up plates, and the business analysts on the middle trying to connect the two together, but spinning their own plates and having their day-to-day work as well as helping the two. So it's pretty chaotic. It's pretty difficult to manage those environments. You want to be efficient, you want to be quick, and you want to be able to go straight to the needs of your business, and you want to bridge the gap between the two. And having worked in marketing and having worked for many years in IT, I'm still surprised how much there is a gap between IT and the business, how much sometimes the business is telling what they're looking for, and sometimes IT through many hoops is not able to deliver exactly what the business wants. So what if we give the business more self-service capability, as we've seen for the last few years, but how do we go to the next stage? That's what we're going to cover in a minute. So we're going to try to make it interactive. Instead of using slide, we want to make it live. So this is going to be a live demonstration, and we're going to be playing a role play, Matt. And the two individuals we're going to be using today is Matt. Actually, Matt is our business analyst. Matt was in real life a business analyst at 3. Yeah, is that correct? At 3, okay. So Matt doesn't have really coding experience. He doesn't do SQL very well, for example, or any. Is that true? Okay, good. And he seems to like Excel. I mean, I was talking to my CTO of MicroStrategy, came over from the US, and whatever you do, doesn't matter how well you're trying to push your analytics solution, you're always going to have user embracing Excel. So it's how do we work together in a federated analytics way to be able to provide them the right data at the right time and enable them to work in Excel, but with the right governed data. They are users. You will never be able to convince. Or what if we can bring hyperintelligence in Excel? Again, where they're working. So that's a concept to think about. And David is the head of marketing. He's not very good with numbers, not very good with data, and he tends to give a short deadline to Matt. So what we're going to be trying to answer today, it seems quite simple question from a marketing perspective is, which demographics are the most responsive to our campaigns? We've done a number of campaigns, and we want just to analyze, which demographic, what kind of people are more responsive to our campaign. And we're going to take you through that in the next 20 minutes. And let's do it.
So you notice David's over there out of the spotlight because the live demo is just about to start. Very much like a real-time thing. So hi everyone, my name's Matt Pepper. I apologise if you're getting blinded from my head on the lights, but I will try to keep this as brief, and then I'll swap, make sure everything's up and running, which it is now, and duplicate. Okay, so I've logged into MicroStrategy. I now need to get some data that I already know is in what MicroStrategy calls schema, but semantic layer is probably a better term, or semantic graph as it's now been changed. I now need to bring in some data from Exasol because that's where all the marketing data is, and because it's the only tool out there that can do this as blisteringly quick as we want it to. So this is our dossier, or folder, as we would say in England, because we're an American company. I'm going to bring in an existing data set, which I've been told is spelt schema. There we go. So I'm going to bring that in. There's all my data, so my areas, sort of a P&L from a banking perspective. What I now need to do is bring in some more data. So some new data. Now, MicroStrategy, when I was working at 3, the telco, One of the things that we wanted to do was make sure that it worked across everything on every device and giving decisions to those people. The whole idea, as John was saying with Monsoon Accessorize, the key thing is it doesn't matter how good a database it is, you've got to make sure that those people get the data and get the answers they need as well. So I'm just going to join to something in real time because it's going to be perfectly quick and I'm very, very cocky. There we go. And now I'm bringing the data in and I'm not sure what I want to look at, but there it is and I can have a look at it. Now we do have things called wrangling, or let's call it adjusting data, cleansing data. I want to call that, that's going to be something I can add up. These are things we call attributes, and I'm then going to map this to something called branch. So what I'm doing then is joining a raw table from XSL straight to the MicroStrategy semantic graph. The reason why, which you'll see in a bit, is because all the security and everything is now being inherited on both those data sets. So then I can build one dossier or dashboard, and it will be across for everyone. So I'm going to focus on area managers. But that's it. So there's lots of stuff we can do in there, but I could connect live. I'm going to import it because it's a lot quicker and it's not being updated. OK, so I've got my schema cube, and then I've got my XSL data. So I've got two different data sets. What do I want to do? So what was the key thing? It's about marketing information. Right, OK, so let's create a duplication of the customers. Right, number of customers, that'll do. And an average balance. OK, I'm going to aggregate it by average. And because I like things formatted correctly, I'm going to make sure it's in pounds. OK, right, now what do I want to do? Now, if I didn't know how to use MicroStrategy, I could just say, show me top 10 customers by job. Yeah, let's say a good demographic. Right, OK, that's quite good. But I prefer my bar charts like that and descending. Yeah, that looks OK. So what else could I do? Let's say show me a heat map of number of customers by campaign. Yeah, that looks OK as well. So the campaigns are numbered 1, 2, 3 because I'm very, very unimaginative. So apologies. So I've already now built some things, and that's quite good. But if you're a bit more advanced, you might want to be able to drag some things in and you can just move them around like this. And I think I'm going to create a map. And I'm now going to drag these things because they're both joined now, so I can just drag geo information. And actually, let's put that above there. That's a bit nicer. How long have I got, boss, before I have to distribute this? This is real time. This is kind of why I have no hair.
I think you have another 5 minutes.
This is what I did at 3.
So.
OK, so tropical jungle colour. Very nice name, tropical jungle. Right, there we go. So that looks quite nice. And maybe a KPI widget of number of customers broken by area. Yeah, that looks like that, right? OK. But that's a bit ugly. So why don't we do that? Hide the title bar, and then let's make that really, really annoyingly stacked and autoplay. Brilliant. OK, so that's pretty much what I want to do. But now I want to give them some access. So when you select something, it will filter all the data. There you go. Simple as that. I'm now going to drag in area. And I'm going to drag in from the other data set the campaign. And I don't like sliders like that, so I'm going to create a checkbox. I think that's pretty much That's enough because obviously marketing people aren't very good with numbers and things, so I'll leave it like that. So I'm going to save it. There's my Big Data London, and I'll close that and go into what we've called Workstation. Just refresh so we can see it coming up. So I could just send an email going, there you go, fill your boots, because that's what most people do in BI. They go, there's the report. I don't really care what you do with it now, because that's what my team used to do for the last 20 years. But maybe we could do something a bit more. So first of all, I'm certifying it, which means that more people, because obviously someone else might name it the same thing, they know this is the gold standard because it's come from a proper power user. Big myself up. Okay, and then I'm going to share it with Christine. Is she coming to a meeting, David, do you know? I'll share it with you as well so you can see it.
Thank you.
And I could, once again, just leave it, or I could view it in a library. Now, the library.
Can you show me my library at the moment of dashboards?
Yeah, sure. There's your library.
So I think I've got my HR down there. I've got my CFO report here, executive here. I don't even know where my operational dashboard is. So I think you understand the concept. So let's see what a real library is.
So this is my library. So I can actually do searching, I can get recommendations, and this goes across multiple what we call projects in MicroStrategy. So you could have an HR dashboard, a finance dashboard. All of these things are available. So I'm just going to look into this. This is completely responsive, so you can have it on a phone or a tablet, and I don't need to do anything else. But now, because I'm a marketing analyst, and I've actually done all the data preparation and building, I could do some analysis, which is very unusual because most people spend about 80% of their time prepping the data. By the way, if you're getting really upset by that flicking thing, because it is quite frustrating, you can stop it as well. Right, I'm going to look here, and I could look at all the different areas. So you see, because I've got full access, I could access all of these. But I can see these campaigns here. There's only really 4 major ones. So I am going to just filter on 1, 2, 3, 4, and apply it. And I can see that the blue-collar workers are the ones that have responded the most across the UK. I'm now going to have a quick chat. So this is called collaboration or instant messenger within the dashboard. I've filtered the top 4. And then instead of telling her what to do, I can just click on that filter. And that means when I change my hat to Christine, you'll see that notification and everything else come through. So very, very quickly, I've connected to my governed secure data, which is sitting in MicroStrategy. I've then joined to Exasol, blisteringly quick, connected up, getting the campaign information that's been supplied, joined it, and also then done some analysis. I'm now going to log out, and then log out. It's a Thursday evening, so I'm now called Christine. You can see a notification down at the bottom. I've also got a notification up here. So I can then click on that. It says, here's the notification, what I've sent. And if I click on it, it'll also filter the information based upon what my analyst has suggested. Now, if Christine was on an iPad or on a phone or on a desktop machine, she'd get all of this information. And what you can see here is that the West Midlands has got significantly less response. And she can then filter between these things and have a look and say, right, so if I look at the East Midlands, oh, look, she's only got 2 options because that's the area manager. Did you see me do any security? No, it's already done. I don't have to think about this. So then I could distribute the same dossier to every single area manager without thinking about security. That's why I mapped it to the schema. That's governed data discovery. I'm just going to have a look at the East Midlands only, and I can see here management seems to be the ones that are responding. That's because they don't do anything really, isn't it? Or I could go to the West Midlands, blue collar. So the two areas that she's responsible for, she's got two very different demographics. So very, very, very quickly, I've connected to all those things. I've done some analysis, and I can share it, and it's available on phones and tablets. However, that's 30%. That is 30% of your business. So how do you get to the other 70? Yeah, that does add up. Okay, I am here. I have logged in. So currently, this is available in Chrome. It's also available on iOS. I have got it on Android on my pocket, and Outlook offline is coming in about 2-3 weeks. So therefore, you could look at this offline, not just on the browser like I can see. I've logged in already because that's when I moved into the library. And there is my card. That is the card I prepared earlier for time's sake, but it takes minutes. The hardest thing is trying to figure out what's the use case behind these. That's the hardest thing you can do. So these are quite easy, so you could compare these things. And also, I can drill. And this works across, currently, any web browser. So that could be, you could be in Salesforce, you could be in SAP, you could be in Power BI or Tableau, you could be whatever you want to do, and you're bringing governed information to wherever you are. It's changing the way people are interacting with it, because there's a lot of people that don't do dashboards. Vodafone UK have presented to us at our World event on this, and they are looking at rolling this out because they think their dashboard use will drop, but the vast majority of people, that other 70%, will actually be accessing this data like this. And I can also then look at, if you're a football fan, of course I'm logged in as her. Let me log in as me. I've got quite a few more cards. So I can then do this, and we've had live football data appearing. And you can make them a bit prettier. So you can have all of the data there. You could also, so these are basically the nouns and the verbs of your business. So I'm using football data because it's a safe data set. We have got customer ones, which are quite interesting. So if you're walking into a customer meeting, you could get the information pushed straight to your phone, because MicroStrategy Mobile, which you'll see in a minute, the hyperintelligence links to your calendar. So suddenly you're getting Google-like notifications just before you need the information. Live demo, and it worked. Okay. Back to the presentation.
You have your mobile with you, Matt?
I do.
Okay. So Christine, I like what you said, but she's got no power on her laptop. She's about to go into a meeting, and she needs to get information about the last campaign. So what does she do?
Well, she can just type it in, and clearly, because I'm on stage, there it is. I'll run up and down, you can see it. So you can get notifications like this. So you can also ignore notifications, like I do with quite a lot. So this links in, you can search using Spotlight and everything else. All that information is just available when you need it. So you can get it pushed to you, as well as then searching for it. I thought, oh, this is quite an interesting gimmick. I can't find a use case for it. We've now hooked it into our CRM, and every time I'm going into a customer meeting, I know within the last 20 minutes if a case being's raised, who the person is, what their telephone number is if I'm running late. All of that information is just in a card straight away. It's really, really interesting because we're moving away from the really, really hardcore detail stuff that we can do effortlessly. This was just a simple extension of us using our APIs. So we have a challenge. If any of you have iOS and want to win nothing, you can go to the App Store. You can download this. There are some free ones, and there are a few questions that we'll have a look at the end. So you can have a look at it. That can be reconfigured. You'd need the most modern version of MicroStrategy to do this in real terms, but we do demos of this on sites for our customers, and as long as all those prerequisites are ticked, it takes about 20 minutes to build a card. It is really, really fast. If you're very interested and you want to come talk to us, we can spin up a cloud environment for you to have a play with. Obviously, that's on safe data. We could connect to your data as well. But it's really, really useful. I'm sure no one's downloaded stuff in time, but percentage of shops of Manchester City. Well, I could do it like this, Manchester City, and I could look at it, or I can do it like this. It's 64%, by the way. There we go. And you can go to any browser, any website, and this information comes up. Obviously, Google or your email is quite simple ones, but there's some really, really interesting use cases, and we'd love to hear more because the more people we talk to, the more use cases are coming out. One of the ones was one of our retailers said that for delivery to the houses, it would be fantastic to know, let's say, because Sainsbury's and Tesco's are big customers of ours, if the delivery man has just turned up, as opposed to just dumping the stuff on and walking off, you could get a card just before you're meant to be arriving saying that Mrs. Jenkins is actually 85 and she can't walk very well. Could you take your shoes off and carry the stuff into the kitchen? That's a really different customer experience. So these things are really changing. This is not really analytics as such. This is more like going into the airport and going, I don't really care about the 400 flights that are there. It's the one flight that I'm on, and I need that information now. That's what this is bringing to all the hard work that you do in your analytics. Okay.
Very good.
So challenge us. Come up to us, ask us, see what you want to do. Bring some ideas. Try and win an Echo Dot. And if you'd like to come and do some proof of concept with us, we'll be over there having a chat with beer and pizza, hopefully. Thank you very much.